What's going on, everybody? It's the Oh Really podcast. It's your boy Mike Ultra. I'm here with my cousine, Big Dan.
What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. So I heard you saw Dune this week.
Bro,
The
I tell you,
produce.
we've been talking about Denis Villeneuve for a while now. Like, bro, he does not miss. Like, I don't really care. Like, I don't know if he's the most mainstream director right now, but like, I think he's really on brand with Chris Nolan. Like, Dune
Oh
2 is
yeah.
spectacular, bro. I went
Is
to,
he French or Canadian?
he's Canadian from the Montreal.
Yeah, he's like a French Nolan.
He is a French Chris Nolan. No, it's honestly, it was a really good film. Like, the first one happened, like we saw it together on the biggest, I think it was the biggest IMAX in the country. If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken, at
Manhattan
Lincoln
there.
Center.
Yeah.
We had to go up
Lincoln
like
Center.
17 stories of like escalator to like actually
Dude, that thing gives you fucking vertigo looking at that shit.
bro, it was intimidating. But like we went like back when we had to like show like COVID vax cards and stuff. So like it's been
Oh yeah. The good old days, some
the
might
good
say.
old days where you were like, here's my paper of proof of whatever.
Oh god.
But no, I went to go see it in iPic because I like obviously I felt like it deserved the extra money. And dude, he didn't disappoint. And not for nothing, like Timothy Chalamet could definitely carry a movie
Yeah,
without.
well, I mean, his Wonka did pretty good, even though it's going to be on HBO Max this month and it's already out on DVD and Blu-ray. But it apparently like killed in the box office.
I mean, he also has a Kardashian in his corner at the moment. So like,
Oh God, he's going to be done.
bro, his popularity is like severely heightened. Like it's like the Taylor Swift's boyfriend. Like it's just
You mean
unfortunately,
Travis Kelsey,
yeah, Travis
Super Bowl
Kelce.
champion?
Yeah, I mean his brother just retired. You heard?
He
Really
did.
sad.
He
Really
did.
sad. But I mean, I think Timothy Chalamet is like definitely hitting the limelight right now, super hard, and I think Kylie might be helping a little bit.
But we
No,
all know what happens with the Kardashian effect. I mean, Kanye's off the fucking rails. Lamar Odom OD'd in a whorehouse in Las Vegas. I mean, what's going to happen to Chalamet?
I mean we could speak about what happened to Bruce slash Caitlyn.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure, like, not to get into that, I'm sure that's been brewing for most of his life, but I can see how being married to Chris Jenner could like make that just become like, yes, this is a decision I'm firmly making.
If there was ever a human being that I was moderately convinced made a deal with the devil, I'm actually almost positive it was her.
Oh yeah. And somehow she'll come out on top, even when the devil comes to pay that fucking due.
No,
I
that's a
have a
fact.
feeling.
That's a fact.
Well, speaking of blockbuster movies that fucking came out between 2023 and now, I watched fucking Aquaman 2 last night.
I was really surprised because
Pretty
I
terrible.
really thought they would fucking cut Amber Heard completely out of that movie.
Dude, she's in it more than I thought. And not, I mean, whatever. I don't give a shit about her and Johnny Depp. That's their fucking problem. But she's not that good of an actress. She is very beautiful. I will give her that. The movie is, you can tell that that movie was like starting to be made when like DC was like holding on to the Snyderverse, and then they were like, but we gotta have a movie made, and they tried to make it like a Lethal Weapon movie, like a buddy comedy, which would have worked if the movie like anybody gave a shit about making it. And the bad guy at the end of that movie, dude, was like straight GoldenEye N64 graphics. Like,
I
I
mean,
can't even tell you what he looked like. It was like a skeleton face in like a green Goldar fucking outfit, but he was all pointy, like when you see like memes of like GoldenEye.
bro, look at what they did to fucking Parallax for Green Lantern. Green Lantern.
That was better than this. That
That's
was
terrible.
eons better than this.
That's wild. I like.
Yeah, it has to be seen to be believed.
I'm having a hard time believing that because that movie
Oh,
is straight up
and
shit.
dude, the last 30 seconds of that movie completely rips off Iron Man 1. Like the movie ends with him joining the fucking United Nations and like revealing Atlantis to everybody, like Wakanda does. But then at the end he goes, drops the mic and goes, "I'm Aquaman." Like, get the fuck out of here, bro. You're like 20 years late on that joke, number one. And number two, that's Iron Man did that. Like, I don't know. Someone was like, well, how are we ending this movie? And someone was just like watching Iron Man in the
Yeah,
background. They're like, yeah, we'll just do that.
at some
It was
point,
bad.
like I know James Gunn's got like, I think he's got like a 4-year deal. I think at this point they've burned through about $500 million in cash trying to deal with like the remnants of like what the DC universe needs to look like. And at the end of the day, it looks like shit. People have lost so much faith in it, and
Yeah.
it's just not going to go anywhere. I don't really see their way out of this because they're already making a Robert Pattinson movie, which has nothing to do with this continue.
Elseworlds.
But like, stop. Like, we haven't even figured out one universe, and you want to like bridge me, the watcher, that there's 4 universes that you're gonna fucking work off of. I feel like you're
Well,
asking a lot.
I'm hoping the new Superman movie. I mean, the casting is pretty decent. Um, one thing I think that they have to do is they have to differentiate everybody. Batman, dark and gritty. Superman is supposed to be very like shiny, like a brand new bike. Like you gotta like have like not everybody can be dark and or nobody. Everybody can be like a comedy. Like it has to fit the specific character, and I think hopefully as much as James Gunn annoys me with his fucking passive aggressive tweets, like I think that if they do that and give everybody some individuality, I think it should work out pretty good.
Oh, bro,
Hopefully, I mean, me, I'm a big Superman guy,
there was that
so
thing I literally sent you the other day that was
yeah,
like
you sent me a lot of stuff.
the AI casting. I sent you a ton of shit. The AI casting. Oh
Yeah.
my God. I wanted to actually run through that with you because I thought it was really fucking interesting.
Oh, from the '70s.
Yeah, well, bro, where is that? I know, like, I just realized how much stuff.
I remember Burt Reynolds as Iron Man.
Yeah.
That was pretty fucking
No, there
clutch.
was another one where it had Leonard Nimoy as Mr. Freeze, which I thought was
That is great. That
that
is
is
really
so
good.
fucking spot on, dude.
Shatner is Hal Jordan.
Here we go. Here we go. I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. Bro, in fucking incredible. Where comics underscore stripped put this list together, and I
It's on Instagram, right?
right. So Harrison Ford, Green Lantern.
Okay.
I'm with that.
Okay, I can post on
Paul
that.
Newman is Batman.
I feel like Paul Bloom is too nice of a guy, though.
I mean, it would fit the
I would
bill.
have did Charlton Heston.
The way they designed it, though, like I mean, I know he was like the thing because it was weird. I was watching like an episode of Home Improvement last night. Shout out to that show. I love that show. But there were
Yeah.
making references to Paul Newman. It was actually really funny. They
I
have
mean, great
I
lemonade.
know you had a fucking gripe with like crazy, but Christopher Reeves is Captain Marvel.
Yeah, no, sorry. Superman cannot be Shazam. Bye.
Well, I mean, I mean, Superman wasn't even recast. I mean, technically his casting should have just been as Captain Marvel, but whatever.
Yeah, no, sorry.
They have Gene Wilder as the Riddler, which I think is like
That I fucking love. That is good.
well, honestly, that's a bugged out thing because Wonka is the Riddler, without a doubt.
Yes, without a doubt.
So that was crazy good casting. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Martian Manhunter.
Okay. I mean, Martian Manhunter's not like 7'5" or whatever the fuck Kareem is, but okay.
Whatever, it works. I mean, he had his time. He was in a Bruce Lee movie. He obviously was like
He
fitted up
was.
to do some acting. They have Carrie Fisher as Batgirl. I can fuck with
Okay.
that.
I can fucks with that.
They have Mark Hamill as Robin. Definitely.
I also fucks with that. Yeah, sure.
And Leonard Nimoy as Mr. Freeze and William Shatner as Aquaman.
See, I would do Shatner as Green Lantern because he has that like asshole quality. But I also don't think that Harrison Ford could be Aquaman because he just doesn't seem like he cares about anything. And Aquaman deeply cares about certain things,
Yeah, William.
like the environment.
I feel like there's like reality in the place that like William Shatner hovers around is kind of like ground level, and he's like a cloud. He just floats above it. He
Oh God,
understands that he's different, but he actually doesn't
the
care.
Shat,
The Shatner.
dude, he's
Now,
the
Leonard
Shat.
Nimoy, bro, oh my God. The picture that they've AI'd as Leonard Nimoy is like a 70s, 60s Mr. Freeze with like this giant O2 tank on his back actually works out wildly.
Oh, like the animated series, the Batman the animated series style.
Yeah, he did it very like in that vein. They
Wait, you have the Marvel one with fucking Burt Reynolds as Iron Man?
I gotta fucking go back because
Who was the it was Schwarzenegger was Thor.
I saw, there's an artist that went viral real quick because he did like black rappers as white people, which was interesting.
That was hilarious. That was good.
Oh yeah, I got you. So I found it.
This is
So
also comic stripped, right?
this is also comics underscore strip.
Shout
So
out to
to
comics
them, like
underscore stripped on Instagram.
really solid fucking casting choices. So they have Robert Redford as Captain America,
Dude, and he was in a Captain America movie, The Winter Soldier. It's
which is
perfect.
awesome. So perfect casting there.
Absolutely agreed.
Raquel Welch is Black Widow.
Sure.
Shout out Shawshank Redemption. Arnold Schwarzenegger is Thor. You know you see it.
I do. And he has like an accent, which I don't know if Thor is supposed to have an accent, but okay.
They 100% though, they deep faked his face. So like they literally mixed. I honestly think that this is Chris Hemsworth as Hulk Hogan, deep faked as Arnold Schwarzenegger playing Thor.
Wow, that's a lot of AI.
Yo,
That's
because
John
honestly,
Connor
like
level
his
right
facial
there.
expression is not really young Schwarzenegger, it's more Hemsworth. They have Sidney Poitier as Black Panther. I'm not
Okay,
a big fan
cool.
there, which I know you said you weren't really too on board with, and this is one that we
I
struggled with.
feel like he's too. No, you know what? Honestly, like now thinking about it, he's such like a classically trained actor. I feel like to pull off like a regal like king, sure, I could see it.
Bruce Banner is Dustin Hoffman.
My God, that's so spot on. It's
Ridiculous.
so good.
And Chuck Norris is the Winter Soldier.
I mean, honestly, but the unfair part about that is that the Winter Soldier kills everybody because Chuck Norris can't be beaten. So
Chuck
there's that.
Norris. So I think the world is kind of waiting. I think we should announce because we have some time before our guest arrives while you have Christmas decorations in your background. My bat cave has nothing to do with any of it, but I was thinking
Oh,
Blue's Clues late, like when Mel was there, that's kind of
yeah.
I feel like she should come in, knock.
I wish we had a way of doing that. Maybe if we ever get a bigger budget, maybe we can get some animation going here. It's funny. I was actually food shopping yesterday, and do you remember in like 80s and 90s like stand up and like sitcoms
Mm-hmm.
how like the big thing was like picking up women in a grocery store?
Yes. Yes.
I've
1000%.
I've never been in the produce section molesting an avocado and had a woman look at me like I really wish that was my tits.
Like standing there like, which one of these
Yeah.
is right?
And it got me thinking that all of these like tropes from like the 80s and 90s, like the writers, like how did they just all just kind of recycle the same ideas? And what better than to have a guest who is an actual writer and creator of her own show? And that is our guest today. We have a Miss Candice Cain, owner of Gemelli Films, CEO and owner. She has her own talent agency, her own casting agency. She's a New York girl, just like me and you. We're all New York girls at heart. She was an editor in chief of a Teen Trend magazine, winner of 4 Telly Awards. So she's going to be joining us in just a little bit. And
Man,
we're going to, oh, and by the way, the Christmas background, I'm glad you picked up on that.
it's
She
hard.
has
It's
so
hard
many
to miss.
Christmas movies.
There's
She has
literally.
so many.
I want you to understand. There's 2 Christmas trees in your background, a full-on mantle display. No stocking stuffer, but you have 2
And
trees.
a fireplace. Can you see it?
Is there a partridge, a pear tree anywhere? Yeah, I can see the fireplace.
I
Right
like to
behind
party.
you.
That's why I have 2 trees.
And there he is.
Alrighty,
My
guys.
first visitor.
I know. I would love to bring in our guest, Miss Candice Cain, the Queen of Christmas. I don't know if people call you that, but I'm
It's
calling you
candy
that, and I
cane.
hope it sticks. So,
Well,
is that a
my thing
coincidence?
is, I think Mariah Carey, because she's the queen of Christmas because of that one song. But I have 14 Christmas films. So
That's what I'm saying. She has one good Christmas song. You have 14 good Christmas movies, and I think that's a winner in my book.
thank
So
you.
you are from Long Island. We are Yonkers boys, so we're all New Yorkers. Cool for us.
There we go.
What was it like growing up on Long Island? Do you still live there now, or have
I
you moved?
do. I actually bought the house that I grew up in from my mother.
That's
Ooh,
really
that's
cool.
And my
awesome.
mom
That's
took
really
the
cool.
property, so she lives with us, with me and my husband and our twins. And I really I loved growing up on Long Island just because of the sense of community. And back when I was growing up, I mean, I graduated high school, Belport High School in 1994. And, you know, like my husband still gets mad at me because I still don't lock my door. I have a habit of like not locking the door, and used to go into your friends' houses. And it was just like that. Everything was safe, you know?
I
Yeah,
remember the 90s. Well, we were fifth grade,
I'm
1994.
not gonna lie. Again, is Mike being my cousin, his door was never locked either, and he just risked it, and I just walked in more times than I should have. So I'm totally with you.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah.
Walked in on some inopportune times. So are you familiar with Vincent's Clam House in Carl Place by the Roosevelt Field Mall?
No, I live all the way. I mean, I've heard of it, but I live all the way east by the Hamptons. I'm in
You
Brookhaven,
have to go to
Hamlet.
that restaurant. That is Danny's all-time favorite Italian. It's probably one of the best Italian restaurants in New York. You definitely have to.
Vincent's Clam House.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
really
so
good.
good.
But
Okay.
no, I think so my aunt used to actually own a house in East Quogue. Is that close?
So I'm about half an hour southwest of East Quogue.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, so definitely out there. I mean, it's a beautiful
Yeah.
island. I love that area so much. I was so upset when they sold the house. It was very upsetting, but really cool area. But now you're surrounded by snow up in Lake Placid filming. That's got to be
Yes.
really exciting. You were telling us before, like a 3 month like trend and film schedule. Like, what is that like to keep all that together?
So I really enjoy making movies, and and television shows, and
Mm,
I have a core team of people that work with me. And it's super important to me to keep my team working. We're Gemelli Film Family, that's what we call ourselves.
that's
And
all.
I call them my boys or my guys. And they're Joey, Kevin, Gavin, and Orlando. And they're my team, and they just come with me wherever we go, wherever I go. And it's just really important that we keep filming. So Kevin is my director of photography, and Orlando, and that's Kevin Yee, and
Mm,
Oh
Orlando
nice.
Fuentes Jr. Is his first assistant camera. So on the last movie we did, which was called Christmas at the Interlochen, that was the first film we did of 2024. But it was 3 weeks after we had wrapped A Jar Full of Christmas.
mm.
Kevin, it was going to be Burnout. So I said to Kevin, like, what do you think about Orlando being the DP on it? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. So I approached Orlando, and he had his first full feature director of photography. So now we're able to do him even quicker, because while Orlando is first assistant camera, which is just like pulling focus and helping set up the shots and, all that stuff, we have Kevin being the director of photography. But Orlando can take the time and focus on different movies,
Got it.
on like building the
Right.
shot list and all of that stuff. So we're able to flip flop, and then Kevin can take a break and be first assistant camera on the next movie. And then we jump in and give, different scripts.
All the background stuff is like so fascinating. The way movies are made, especially even like smaller productions, all the way up to like big blockbusters. I feel that like it's such like an intricate, delicate process. But speaking of interesting things, we were talking about this when we were looking into your background.
We
You
weren't
had an
studying or
improv
going
troupe.
too crazy, but yeah, there's a fun fact we found here that like even before we got into the movies, I feel like Mike, are we about to find out about Alaska?
Yeah, an improv troupe in Anchorage, Alaska. Okay, so first of all, question one: what's it like going to school in Alaska? And two, did that have any bearing on like your Christmas like stuff since it's like snowy there a lot? Or
So I was in Alaska only for 4 months because we had a family tragedy.
I'm
And
sorry to hear that.
it's okay, thank you. But I had gotten a grant, and I went up to get my master's. And I went up in August, and unfortunately, like I said, we had a family tragedy that December of, it was 2000, and I ended up coming home, and helping there. But I did start this improv troupe, which we called Gagged and Bound, because we would take an audience member, and we would
It's very sexy.
This is right up the
Very
well,
alley.
Gagged and Bound,
unchristenous-like, yeah.
We picked the right podcast for this, that's for sure.
we would tie them to a chair, like a wheelie chair, not a wheelchair, but like one that had like a desk chair with wheels on it.
Right.
And we would gag and bound them on the chair, and we would use them as a prop throughout the show, and then they would get something like a big prize at the end, and people, like, we would sell out all the time, and we're like, all right, who's our volunteer? And literally everybody would be raising their hand. And even after I left, it was a traveling improv troupe. Even after I left, the troupe was still going on until COVID, killed it.
I mean, for some people, being gagged and bound in public is a prize in and of itself. So, I mean, not outing myself here. But.
No, this is a chance to expose.
And ironically, my sister lives there now. My sister and her family live in Anchorage. She's a doctor.
Oh, wow.
I've always wanted. Is that like, that's like Northern Exposure? Wasn't he a doctor? Remember the TV show with Rob Morrow?
I do remember the TV show, but I don't think they were in Anchorage.
I have a question about, so since you are a writer, I have a question. We were talking about this in our intro. Do you remember like 80s and like 90s sitcoms where like picking up women in a grocery store was like a thing? And like, how did all these shows share the same like tropes? Like, do you have like any like insight to like why that was a thing?
Well, there's still things, and Joe Pisani, who is the executive vice president of Gemelli, and he's also like, he does sound, he does everything for me. He's like my brother. I adore him, but he says to me all the time, Candy, tropes are tropes for a reason. They're tropes because they work. They're tropes because people identify with them. I mean, think about your Christmas movies, a big time girl comes back to her small town, falls in love with the guy that she used to love, who turns out to be a millionaire. I mean, that's like literally, it's a trope, but it's a trope because people enjoy it.
Is it almost like a stereotype where it's like
an
it was true at one time and now it's just synonymous almost?
I don't know if I would call it a stereotype. I mean, I guess you could kind of stereotype Christmas movies.
Yeah.
Because they do have that cookie cutter format. And I have tried to break out of the cookie cutter format. And
you actually
don't like that.
One of my favorite ones that you did was the one where Santa Claus gets served divorce papers. And I would love for you to tell us the story on that, because I know it was the Star 99.9. I believe that's in Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken. That started out as like a running gag between the hosts on the show.
Yeah. So Anna and Raven, they had this. I don't know. I listen to 90s on 9. Okay, like I don't listen to traditional radio on Long Island. It's Walk 97.5.
Right.
So, I was listening to the Anna and Raven show, and I believe they're in 47 markets nationwide. So all of a sudden, one day I'm driving my kids to school and my phone starts lighting up. And I usually don't pay attention to my phone while I'm driving my kids to school. And I mean, it's literally call after call after call after call. And I'm looking, and Stacey O'Neill, who I hadn't talked to in a while, like I'll talk to her on Facebook, but I hadn't talked to her in a while, is calling me. And I finally answer the phone, I'm like, Stacey, what's up? She's like, Candy, turn on the radio. I'm like, what are you talking? She's like, turn on 97.5. So I turn it on, and they're talking like at the very tail end of Anna's idea for a Christmas movie. And it was like Mrs. Claus died or something. And they're like, you need to get in touch with them. I was like, all right, whatever. So anyway, I reached out, and Stacey reached out, and I ended up on the phone with Anna Zapp from, Anna and Raven. And it grew from there. And I was like, you can't kill Mrs. Claus.
No.
Let's turn her into a raging bitch and see what happens.
I mean,
so like she did.
That seems all right.
Fair enough.
And like she doesn't want to come second to Christmas anymore. And like how many times does that happen in relationships when a woman marries a man or a man marries a woman and they've been workaholics the entire time, but all of a sudden they get married. Right? They get married and the wife or the husband is like, you work too much, and nothing's changed. Right. So I took that and I put that into
imitating art. Again, that is so true. Like that's a trope that is reality. Like
it's true.
It happens.
Well, it's not a trope. It's not a trope though, because it's not repeated. So a trope is a plot line or an element that gets repeated. So just the plot line, that's never been done before, like with Santa and getting divorced and whatever the divorce decree.
Yeah,
So
no, it was really cool. I enjoyed watching it, and that's actually what made me want to reach out to you. Was
thank
I enjoyed
you.
it so much, and then that's
So
why I said, you know,
here's a bit of information or a, I don't know, trivia. The three kids that played in that, Catherine Cain, who happens to be my daughter, she played CJ, Madison Ross played Peyton, and Jasper Berger played Hayden. Those three kids were nominated for the 2022 Young Artist Academy Awards.
oh wow,
And then we just found out some of them are nominated again for the 2023 awards, which are in July. But they were nominated for their roles, and they were also nominated for Best Ensemble.
that's really awesome. Do you enjoy working? I noticed that Catherine seems to be a frequent collaborator of yours. Do you enjoy working with your daughter, or do you find it like kind of like bringing work home or home to work? Or it's
I compartmentalize very, very well, and my kids do too, which is crazy and awesome. And Catherine won the Young Artist Academy Award in
oh, that's dope.
for 2021 for her role in Baking Up Love.
Very
When she
cool.
comes to set, she knows that mommy's not mommy, that mommy's the director.
Mhm.
And she'll work, and she knows, and I don't treat her like my daughter. I don't coddle her. And I'm like, this is how you do it. And Charlie too, who plays Brady in Prank Squad. He came, and I just treat them like adults, like actors, because they're there because they do a good job. But Catherine, Kevin and Orlando took Catherine under their wings, and brought Catherine into the camera department. So Catherine has been like apprenticing under them. She'll be 16 on Wednesday. Well, they're
Oh,
both
happy
older twins.
birthday,
Oh,
Catherine.
Thank you. So she's been apprenticing under them to learn camera, and she has worked in the camera department. She was second assistant camera on my film Love in Storytown, and my son has worked as a grip. And I don't let them talk to me. And I know that sounds terrible, but I'm not their boss. Their boss, like in the camera department, is the director of photography. So Catherine has to report to Orlando.
Right.
She's like second assistant, reports to first assistant, reports to DP. And then Charlie was working as a grip. They're twins. I don't know if you guys know that. That's what gemelli
Yeah,
means.
I saw that.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So gemelli in Italian is twins, but Charlie was working as a grip in Love and Storytown, and he had to answer to Gavin, who was the gaffer. Under Gavin was the key grip, which was Mike Tuminello. So I'm
Well,
very hands off.
it's awesome that you're like establishing like a hierarchy there, because I mean, we all know people who have worked with family members and they tend to go right for the family member,
It's
but it's
usually
cool that
very,
you're like
very
showing them like the right
unsuccessful
way
and
to do it.
catastrophic, unfortunately. Like
Yeah.
not everybody
My
can
mother works
sometimes
for me too.
separation.
Oh
Oh
wow.
wow.
And so does my husband. Like, my husband is a police officer, but he'll come in because he's a specialist with Glock.
Mm.
So we've had to use guns in another movie, and he'll give like, this is how you hold a gun. We haven't used real guns, we use dummies.
Right.
But even if you're using a dummy, you have to hold a gun a very specific way
Yeah.
to make it
Right.
look realistic. So my husband teaches the actors how to do that.
That's really
Um,
cool.
And then my mother was an art director for South Country School District for 30 years. And she did like all the sets and everything. And she works for me as production designer and
That's really
props. And
cool.
yeah.
I know there's an experience that you had that Dan is foaming at the mouth to ask you about. It's one of his favorite movies that you worked on. U.S. Marshals.
Okay.
So I know he's curious to ask about that experience.
Yeah, what was overall like? What was that like? Because obviously, I've seen The Fugitive, I've seen U.S. Marshals. They're iterations of each other. Like same cast was kind of moved over. What was that experience like for you, kind of working on a project at that level?
That was my first major movie. I worked on location in Paducah, Kentucky and Reelfoot Lake. I was 21 years old. It was, no, I was 20. I take it back. I was 20.
Awesome.
I was about to turn 21. And we've actually been talking about that a lot on this set that I'm on right now. I could send you guys a picture of me and Robert Downey Jr.
That's so
Um,
That
awesome.
would be cool.
I have a great story about Robert Downey Jr. Like, he was wonderful. He was so nice. So we actually did crash a plane. It was an actual plane. We really didn't have post-production back then. This is 97, right? And there's fuel lines everywhere. And I'm standing in the street, in the like on a dirt trail, and a gator comes by. A gator is an off-road
Okay,
golf cart, right?
That
So
means something totally different in Florida. They're like
I know.
everywhere out
I
here.
was gonna say, did a gator walk by you?
So this guy's driving it, and there's a man sitting on the back of it with a baseball cap, a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and a pair of aviators on. So like I put my hands up to stop them, and the guy's like pissed and he tries to run me up, and like I put my hands in front of the car because they're rolling and there's fuel pumping through the lines. And the guy's like, "Do you know who this is?" I'm like, "I don't care who it is. We're rolling." And he's like, "This is Mr. Robert Downey Jr." I'm like, "There's fuel pumping right now. You cannot drive." So out the guy in the back comes out. It was Rob, and he comes up to me, and he's a little taller than me, and he has his head like face right here, and he pulls off his sunglasses and he looks at me and he goes, "What's your name?" I go, "Candice." And he goes, "I'm Rob. You're having lunch with me." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So he goes back to his thing. He's about to roll. They good to go. So later on, we're at catering, and I'm in line, and Eddie Bo was also there. I believe Eddie passed away.
Oh.
Eddie Bo was like there with him as a bodyguard or whatever. So all of a sudden, we're in the catering line hours later, and I'm pulling up my plate. I'm just ignoring him, and I feel the tap on my shoulder. And I was engaged at the time. My fiance was working on the film too, and he was next to me. And I look at him, and it wasn't him, it was Rob. And ironically, my fiance's name at the time was also Rob, but it was so Robert Downey Jr. comes over and he taps me on the shoulder, and I look over my shoulder at him. I'm like, "Oh, hi." He's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm getting lunch." He's like, "I told you you were having lunch with me." I was like, "Yeah, but you didn't ask." And he's like,
Nice.
Yeah.
"Will you please have lunch with me, Candice?" And I was like, I looked at Robert, my fiance, and he's like, and I was like,
Yeah,
"All
wow.
right, sure." So I ended up for like a week having lunch with Robert Downey Jr. in his trailer, just lunch and Eddie Bo. And then he would play his guitar for me while smoking Marlboro Red.
Wow.
Such
He
a
He was the
seems like
greatest
he'd be
guy.
really cool.
He was so nice. He was just very kind, very sweet. Wesley Snipes was a doll, a doll. And
Is Tommy Lee as curmudgeonly as he looks?
he kind of looks like he has permanent curmudgeon face.
He does.
no comment.
You know what? I'm not even disappointed because I kind of figured
It's an expectation at this point.
it is. It's part of like his who he is, I guess. It's like I feel like what's his name is like that too, Harrison Ford. I feel like
I want to meet. I've heard wonderful things about Harrison Ford.
me too. I feel like he's like the world's nicest guy, but he looks like he just doesn't care about anything or anyone. He just has that look, and it's
His
so great.
voice tonality and mannerisms also like add to the fact that he looks like he'd be a jerk, but like it's really cool that he's like sweet on the inside.
Yeah, I've
That is
heard
really
he's terrific, and I mean he's on my actor bingo card. Like I would die to work with him.
That is
A great
perfect that you
question.
said that because one of our questions is, who are like the top like I'm sure there's plenty, so we'll do top 3 people, male or female, you'd love to work with actor wise.
Let's say male. My top 3 men, I would have to say Harrison Ford, William H. Macy, and John C. Reilly.
Wow, John C. Reilly is so versatile.
Oh my God, I know. I was just having a conversation about him. He's incredible. Women, I would say Kathy Bates, Helen
Also
Mirren. Kathy Bates, Helen Mirren, and Melissa McCarthy.
Wow, not bad. The things I like about John C. Reilly and Kathy Bates is that they could be in a movie like Talladega Nights or The Waterboy, and then also in the same year be like nominated for an Oscar.
Right.
And same
I
thing
love
as for
them.
Melissa McCarthy as well too. Like that's comedy is probably harder than drama, I would say, because anybody can be serious, but not everyone can be funny.
I don't know. There's a lot of disciplines. Like even one of my favorite movies was Batman 1989, and like Michael Keaton. This is something we've talked about on the podcast. Was a comedic actor at the time, and he was like, I channeled most of my comedy to make me better at drama. So I don't know. Do you feel like there's like more disciplines in that that kind of translate better to drama?
I think a lot of comedy seems to be more collaborative because we just did a movie last month called Christmas at the Interlaken, and it is very much like a Neil Simon type of comedy. Christopher Guest, like just a total ensemble comedy, and you really need to you have to be a good actor with comedic timing, but you also have to have a good script, like a strong script. You have to have a great director and an awesome editor to put everything together to make the jokes hit. So with drama, if you're delivering a very dramatic monologue, most of that relies on the actor. So like there's a monologue. Is there a monologue in this one? I can't remember. Yes, there's a monologue in the one. I'm doing a thriller right now. There's a monologue in this one, and Adam Huss plays the role of Jacob Stanton, and he's doing something that I'm not going to spoil it because it's actually kind of a good movie. And he has this very serious monologue, and just as a director, I just kind of like sit back and let him go to work, and that happens in like all of my movies. We had a conversation about this on set. Somebody has a chunky monologue, and you just need to let the actor have their space.
Then now the movie you're speaking of, is that Peekaboo?
It is.
Yes. This is, I guess you would classify this as maybe like a home invasion thriller.
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. For anyone who isn't aware, it's about a nanny and her friends who are protecting a baby from their biological crazy family while the adoptive parents are away. I'm assuming on a vacation.
Right.
Cool. So is that just like a script, or is that based on like something in the headlines, or some? I hope not, but someone's like personal experience, or is it just like an original idea, like 100% fiction?
It's 100% fiction. So it's
cool.
a script.
Cool.
Actually, I had a quick question. Just because like we were kind of just talking about like comedy, and obviously you do a really like you have a lot of productions going on at the same time. One, chemistry is super important, especially for what you were saying about comedy. How do you make sure that your actors have chemistry? Like, what's one of the ways that you look for that? Because I feel like you can always see chemistry on screen, and you can see when it's not there. So like, how do you make sure that that actually works? Is that something that's kind of done through editing, or do you have like a pre-practice of like, I want to see what they work like, send them to lunch on their own to see how they do? What does that look like for you?
So oftentimes, and I mentioned Christopher Guest before because I really like his model. Waiting for Guffman, A Mighty Wind, Best in Show. He casts the same people over and over and over again. Usually Jane Lynch, Jennifer Collins, Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara. Like that's his core. And you'll see in my movies that I really enjoy casting the same people together. When we have roles that are very important, like, and the people have never met each other, we'll do something called a chemistry read. So we did that for something in Santa's Second Wife, one of the roles there. We did it for another role. I can't remember, but I know in the last one, the relationship that was the most important was between Jack and I can't remember, Cole. So Jack was played by Troy Escada and Cole was played by Gilly Kahlo. But before they were cast, they had never met or anything. I had worked with Troy before. I'd never worked with Gilly. So I was like, guys, we got to do a Zoom meeting. So we had a Zoom meeting and the guys met each other. And I said, all right, just read. And I let them read. And then I was like, all right, let me give you a little bit of direction. I gave them direction, then they read. And then I gave them some like more direction and I recorded it. And they knocked it out of the park and I cast them on the spot.
That's awesome.
Does that ever happen to you where you will work with an actor and then you'll work with another actor on a different project and you'll be like, I got to get these two people together?
Yes.
Like they would crush it together. Yeah, I feel like that happens. It seems to happen a lot. I don't know if it's just like Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau, like back in the day. The first time they worked together, someone had to be like, we gotta get these guys together all the time. So do you have any projects like that coming up where you have like people you've brought together that you knew would just crush it?
So I am currently working on a movie called Random Acts of Coffee, and it's just a rom-com. Definitely, it's like heavy on the com, a little bit lighter on the rom, and I've been
Just a
writing it
smidge of
on.
rum.
I've been writing it on set, and Gillian Carly Bondar, who's done, she just earned her hat, so she's done 3 films with me. And if you do 3 movies with Gemelli, you get a Gemelli hat.
Oh,
And
Right.
6, you get a shirt. 9, you get a water bottle. So like we increments of 3, like you're up at the plate, you know. So anyway, Gilly and Carly just have a fantastic chemistry, and they have not played opposite one another. So I'm writing Random Acts of Coffee, and I keep hearing their voices in my head as I'm writing it. And I feel like, okay, I'm writing these roles that they're going to end up playing opposite each other. That's not a guarantee, but
but it's
that's
the
somebody
idea
I
that
would
you
like.
have.
Yeah, I would like to put them opposite each other and
That
see what
sounds
happens.
that sounds pretty cool. I mean, it's good to have, like, I guess, someone's voice or like someone's image in your head when you're writing something. I know that you have some acting credits. What made you go away from that and go more into like the writing, directing, production side instead of just saying, I'm just going to be a full blown actor and, see where this goes?
So I started acting when I was very young, like 7, and I did a ton of theater. And then I transitioned, or started adding, film and television when I was 15. I modeled a lot, moved out to LA, met my husband, moved here, or New York, Long Island, and I was acting. And I was doing a lot of theater, and I had 5 miscarriages. And
Oh
I
no.
had 6 failed inseminations. And my husband was like, listen, can you please stop acting and like, let's focus on having a family? And I said, okay, because I really wanted a family. So
Sure.
I stopped, and we went through IVF. And this is in 2007. I had 12 embryos retrieved, or 12 eggs retrieved. Only 2 of them were viable. So they put 2 in, and I had twins, Charles and Catherine. They were born 7 weeks early. I
So was
almost
my son.
died.
My
I
son
was
was born 7 weeks ago.
My kids were huge, huge. How big was your son?
My son was 5 pounds 3 ounces and almost 19 inches.
So I had twins, so that they're usually smaller, right?
Mm-hmm.
My daughter was 4'12" and 18 inches. My son was 5'11" and 19 inches.
Wow.
So, but I almost died on the
Oh
table 3
no.
times. I had preeclampsia, and my son did die, and they resuscitated him. He died in my husband's arms
Oh,
when he
Oh
wow.
was
my
3 days
God.
old on St. Patrick's Day. So I said, maybe when they're 5 and they're going to kindergarten, maybe I'll get back into acting. So the summer that they were 5, and I hadn't gone back to it, I'm sitting on the couch with my son, and he's like playing with the remote control, like trying to find cartoons or whatever. And my episode of Malcolm in the Middle comes on, and it just happens to be when I've got my arm around Craig at the very end of the movie, and he's like, why can't I be on TV? And I said, you want to be on TV? I'll get you on TV. So I submitted him for something, and he was cast like that. He plays
Wow.
opposite Jason Sudeikis. He has a little role opposite him in Sleeping with Other People. If you watch the
Oh.
trailer, he's the kid in the yellow helmet.
Oh
Um,
wow. Okay.
and
Also,
then I ended up casting, and my daughter wanted to get in. She played Patty LuPone's granddaughter in a pilot that never got picked up. My friends wanted their kids. I ended up having 211 kids on my roster, getting them
Wow.
cast all over, all over the country.
I'm gonna have to
And
send you pictures of my son. He's adorable.
and then I made my first movie, and the rest is history.
Now,
so
did that lead to you have? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Again, go for it.
no,
I
I was
got
gonna say,
like a
is that
2 second lag over here.
was that kind of like how the talent agency kind of started and then it kind of grew from there? Because I know you have a couple of different businesses that you run successfully.
So I started Candice Cain Travel when I stopped acting, and I ended up having a reality show called Wedding Lane with Candice Cain because I was the #1 destination wedding planner in the world in 2011 and 2012. And that was that. And I did that for 5 years. I still own the travel agency. My mom kind of runs it now. And
It's amazing to talk to someone who just like has an idea and just is so good at it, because I have so many ideas I'm so bad at, and I'm just hoping that whatever from you rubs off because
thank you.
No,
It's not a matter of being good at it. It's a matter, my grandma always said, you'll never starve, Candice. You'll never starve, because you figure out a way to get it done.
yeah, for sure.
one thing I've noticed, and you know, like aside from, you know, what I do with Mike, like I have a separate YouTube that focuses on business. I love business. Like I run a huge sales team too. So like what you do from behind the scenes is really impressive to me. Like your execution is just
Thank you.
none. And you know, one thing I want to geek out for a second and kind of step away from films, but still in that same spotlight. Like, how do you manage 3 separate companies? Because this is stuff that I can nerd out to. Like, we could do a whole separate podcast on this, but I'm really curious to know how you kind of keep it all together, because just the things that you've been talking about in the last 34 minutes are things that most people take years to accomplish. And you talk about them almost as if I did them, they're done. What are the next 5 things I can start working on? And I think that's really awesome to hear. So I just
Thank
love
you.
how you keep the balance of everything.
You should talk to JB Yowell too. Like
Yeah.
if you on your business podcast, he works with me, but he's got an oil company. He's got like so much stuff. He has ALG Holdings. He's a great dude. You know, you should definitely talk to him about business, because the
Really
guy's
cool.
really smart. But honestly, you know, you make it sound like I'm this warrior and I do everything by myself and I'm this like business champ. I'm not.
Mm.
I get an idea and I get the people assembled that'll help me bring it forward. Like, yeah, I've got Candice Cain Travel, but I've got Bonnie Lambert, Robin Roberts, and my mother running it.
Yeah.
I just created it, and I was doing it actively before I came this way. I let, you know, I delegate and let them do it. Okay. Then with my team, yeah, I do a lot of it myself. Like I write the scripts myself. I acquired whatever we're going to do. But I have Ann Cooper, who's my first assistant director. I've got Becca Hassel, who's my script supervisor, Joey Pisani, Kevin Yee, Orlando Fuentes, Gavin Cruz. I give them what we're doing and they do their jobs with Gemelli Films. And you know, I don't micromanage.
Mm.
If I hire you and you're going to do a job and you're hired to do a job, I let you do the job. With Cain Casting and Talent Management, I really stepped back from that because COVID killed us.
Mm.
And even, you know, like with all who has the vaccines and like the kids have to have the vaccines and this and that. And it was awful. So I really stepped back from that. I only do it when people need help or, you know, come to me or like, Candy, listen, I got to fill this role. Do you have anybody? And then they have the list and then I'll go to my people.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Wow.
Does that answer your question?
No, it does, because, you know, it's weird. I think a lot of people kind of lose perspective on like the grander scheme of things, but I can't agree more, because like one thing I tell my team all the time is like when we're assigned, you know, because it's a sales organization, when we're assigned targets, as one person, I can't hit a team of 50's goal. Like I can't go out and sell 50 collective quotas. I need to trust them to do that. So like hearing that is always a good reinforcement of like, this is what it really looks like. And I just, like I said, I just love geeking out on that stuff. It's something I'm super passionate about aside from film. And just your progression has been really, even though
Thank you.
like, a woman warrior, you started it, which I think, you know, you get a lot of credit for, because it's finding the right people to put in those places to succeed. Which means your understanding of people is really well developed, and most people don't have trust in business. Like it's the hardest thing to let go, and I feel like that's
It is.
that people can't.
And I have gotten burned by so many people. So I really have been stabbed in the back. People will be hugging me with one arm and stabbing me back in the other, you know, and I just pull the knife out, wipe off the blood and give it back to them and just say, you know, right, just go use it on somebody else because you're, you know, you're done
Like
with
a
me.
true Long Island girl.
No.
So, one question I have is, obviously, you know, you do Christmas films, seems to be something that is predominant when it comes to content. I mean, you have some thrillers. I would say maybe that Peekaboo movie almost borderlines on a horror film. What drew you to the holiday, like Christmas holiday, like as the background of film compared to like maybe just making Halloween movies or like are
Because
you
my
just like a shill for Christmas like me who keeps your Christmas
no.
tree up as you can see all year round?
So my name is Candice Cain, if you
Correct.
haven't noticed.
Yes, but is that on purpose or was that by
No, I
accident?
married into it. I genuinely
Oh.
married into it. My maiden name's Cook, so if you hyphenate me, I'm Cocaine. And I had a house on Crystal Rock when we got married. So my entire wedding invitation was on the Jay Leno show. It was a Cocaine wedding on Crystal Rock Court, Middle Island.
That's amazing.
But I did my very first movie in 2015. That was called What Happened Last Night. And I got injured. A year later, after we shot the first season or first episode, pilot episode of the spinoff series New Dog's Old Trick, I shattered my ankle and I
Oh
was
my Lord.
oh, it was so bad. I tripped over the freaking sidewalk in Manhattan on my birthday, on my 40th birthday, and shattered my ankle. And I was out of the game for like 18 months. It was terrible. And in 2018, after we had finally finished that first season of New Dogs, which by the way, I just licensed to VA Media. So you'll be seeing it on YouTube on Movie Central or TV Central. Thank you. I ended up going to this thing called MIPCOM, which is a conference in France that I cannot recommend enough to filmmakers, whether you're going to sell content or if you're going for the workshops. It's at the Palais du Festival in Cannes. It's amazing. So I had gone and I met with some buyers and I met this woman, Anna Budashevskaya from Real One Entertainment. And she sat me down and I was with Amy Minter, who's my partner. And she's like, listen, your name is Candice Cain. You need to make some Christmas movies. You have to make Christmas movies. And I don't like Christmas movies. I don't.
Oh man.
I don't.
That is
like
irony.
Bad Santa, you know what I mean? Like
yeah. That is so ironic. That's so ironic. It would seem like it wouldn't be true, but I know it is.
So it's so true. So 6 months later, not even, so we're in 2019. All right. Somebody comes to me and is like, I have X amount of dollars. I want you to make a movie. I want to be one of the actors in it. Can you write me a movie? And I was like, can it be a Christmas movie? And he's like, my God, I love Christmas movies. Yes. So I ended up writing Ivy and Mistletoe. And that was in 2019. So since 2019, this is what, 2024? So
Yes.
that's 5 years. So since 2019, Gemelli Films has produced 18 films and 2 television series, including one that has 2 seasons and was in contention for the Emmys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I know you have 4 Telly Awards.
I do. We do.
Cool. That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
I know, Annie, we were talking about this before she came on. You have a lot of content on Tubi. Me and Dan both love Tubi. Is that a coincidence? Or do you have like a first look deal with Tubi? Or no, that's just a coincidence? Because they produce a lot of content of their own. So we were curious if it was like, something that you work with them directly with, or
especially now knowing like the way you've kind of talked about business, like Tubi is, even though it's considered like the little streamer, it more often than not will have the thing I want to watch. Like Tubi is really good at getting my attention over HBO Max, Paramount Plus, and all these other things. Like, was it just an opportunity to work with them directly? Did you see like more longevity with them?
I don't work with them directly. I've never done a direct deal with Tubi.
I thought you did.
Oh, wow.
I swore we saw it online.
You did. You've seen everything because distributors have put my stuff there. So Santa's second wife has BRI Entertainment, who is the executive producer of Mark Bruder, is the executive producer of Santa's second wife. He has an output deal with them or something, and he has the movie. He has Santa's second wife, so that's where it ended up. New Era Entertainment licensed all of my films through me and put them onto Tubi. So it's just a part of the licensing game. And I don't, I'd love to work directly with Tubi, but I don't have a contact over there.
Got it. That makes
So
sense.
I have a question I'm going to ask you because my mother would enjoy this question. So growing up, and he can attest to this, I used to be a General Hospital fanatic. I used to watch it with my mother all the time. And
No,
then it
don't let him fool you. We
life.
used to go to his house and he would have it DVR'd and we'd have to sit there and watch like a week's worth of episodes. I know more about Sunny Corinthos and Port Charles, even though like Brad, the General Hospital, but unbelievable how much this kid loves soap operas.
Okay.
And to be fair, we were pretty stoned while we were watching them, so that made it more bearable. But I know in Magic and Mount Holly, you worked with Jennifer Bassey, who's like
I love Jennifer. Yeah.
soap opera legend from she played the crazy nymphomaniac Marion Colby on All My Children for like almost 30 years. Just curious what it's like working with someone who's like that big in a specific, because you know how a lot of times soap opera actors don't always translate to film. Like I know Steve Burton from General Hospital was in The Last Castle with Robert Redford. He's like one of the few soap opera actors. Shamar Moore, also another one that kind of like branches out. But to work with someone that's legendary in a specific field, like was it cool to work with her?
Oh, she was great. She actually came out the night before, and I took her to dinner at Mama Lombardi's. You ever been there in Holbrook?
I've heard of it. I've never been.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's so
Add
good.
it to the list, Daniel.
Dude, and they've got amazing pizza. Like they have like a little pizza on the side and then a big restaurant. It's unbelievable.
Candice, I live in Florida, the place where pizza went to die.
Yeah. No, California's pretty bad. California's pretty bad, I gotta say.
I'll enjoy
So Jennifer was, and I took her to dinner. She was only in that one scene in Magic in Mount Hollywood. She was lovely. I would love to work with her again. But Jennifer's not the only soap star, like big soap star I've worked with. You do know that, right?
Give me another. How did I miss this?
How about Patrick Muldoon?
He
is
okay,
also
so I have a thing. Patrick Muldoon stole Kelly Kapowski from Zach Morris, and I've never emotionally recovered from that. And when he died in Starship Troopers, I wasn't mad.
He also stole Denise Richards from Casper Van Dien, which I also can't forgive him for. Like that became who he was.
Yeah, he kind of always deserved his comeuppance.
You don't understand.
So, he seems like a fun guy though in real life.
I'm trying to get Adam Huss's attention right now, who is Nicholas Cassadine. I'm like literally texting, can't see, but I'm yeah, I'm trying to get him to crash your podcast right now to have him.
Oh my God, that would be fantastic.
Let me see if Jennifer's around. Hang on.
I love the Cassadines. Jason just came back. Speaking of Steve Burton, he's just back in General Hospital as Jason Morgan. Yeah, I'm super stoked about it. I have a DVR. I gotta watch it. March 4th he came back.
I just texted Jennifer Bassey.
That's incredible.
Instead, are you around? But all right, so let's see. You want to talk soap stars?
Sure.
All right. Magic in Mount Holly, we had Jen Bassey and we had Patrick Muldoon. Patrick Muldoon was my first celebrity crush when I was in high school because he played Austin Peck. Not Austin Peck, Austin. Austin Peck also played Austin on he was the first Austin on Days of Our Lives.
Right.
So I actually told him, I was like, I had the biggest crush on you. And he gave me a kiss on the cheek and he took pictures with me. He was great. Also in that movie was Carrie Genzel from All My Children.
Okay.
I believe she was All My Children. And in that movie was also Al Sapienza, who you know from The Sopranos, but he was in Port Charles.
That's right. That was the spinoff of General Hospital.
And then in Joy and Hope, we've got Vivica A. Fox, and she was on a soap. I can't remember what soap it was, but I know she started on a soap opera.
I love that game show she's on. Funny you should ask.
I don't know.
Oh, it's great. You would love it. It's all comedians and comedic actors, and they get asked questions to true or false, and then the contestant has to like bet on whether they think they're right or wrong. And she's a frequent collaborator on there. She's so great.
I love her.
So
I
funny.
love her. She's great. But she was in that, and the late and great Andrea Evans, who was a very dear friend of mine, who sadly passed away last year. She was on Passions. She was in that movie.
I remember
June.
Passions. I dated a girl in high school who was obsessed with that show, and the doll always creeped me out.
Timmy,
Yes.
you have no idea what my did to me. I'll
Tell
send
me.
you the text. Okay, so where I'm staying, up there, right up there is a loft. Okay, let me unblur this for you so you could see it. But you see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a loft. Okay. We are working with a creepy toddler, like a doll, a toddler. It's called Reborn. It is scary as crap. They put it up there and did not tell me and had it hanging, like leaning down. I screamed like I was being murdered. This just happened on Friday. I jumped out of my slippers. That's how scared I was.
Oh no.
So, anyway, speaking of dolls, it was awful.
I can imagine. My son's name is Lucas, and me and my wife are big Star Wars fans, which is where his name comes from. But he also has a secondary inspiration for his name. Jonathan Jackson from General Hospital, Lucas Lorenzo. They called him Lucky.
I don't watch
show.
the only soap I watch these days.
We call him, my son's nickname is Lucky because of that show, and
Aww.
not very many people know that now. That's how deep the soap opera obsession goes for me. It's the least manly thing I do, but I love it.
Oh, stop.
No,
I remember when I was
watched
pregnant,
them.
I used to DVR it, and I would make my husband, who is a real tough guy cop, watch it with me, and he got obsessed with the
God,
John
it's
and
such good TV.
Marlena. Oh my God, he was so mad. And he's like, I can't stop thinking about that damn show. So fortunately, he doesn't watch it anymore.
Hey, they've been on the air for like 60 years. They're doing something right.
I'm starting to be convinced that like men won't watch anything like Boyfriends, Husbands, or whatever until we're made to watch it. And then once we start watching it, we have a really hard time letting go.
Well, that's
I've
the
watched-
fear. The fear is that we're going to like it and that we're wrong for judging it.
Yeah, I've
That's the
watched
fear.
so many things that like my girlfriend's like, oh, you should watch this. And I'm 2 episodes in, and then the next thing I know, the series is over. And I'm like, you got me again.
So I have a pretty layup question for you. So my favorite movie of all time is Once Bitten. This would be what, the 7th time I've mentioned it in our podcast.
I think it's once.
Since we've been
I
doing
think
this.
it's becoming a thing. It's once an episode. I mentioned Batman. You mentioned Once Bitten. The podcast is not complete.
Is that the one with Bruce Campbell?
No, it was Jim Carrey's first starring.
Jim Carrey. I meant Jim Carrey. My bad.
And I always said that if I ever was in your position where I could like direct a film, I would love to remake that movie. I don't know why. I think it's just because I love it so much. I would want to tell it, just the same way you'd like to read a story that you enjoy. So my question to you is, if you could remake any movie, what would it be?
A League of Their Own.
Okay. Do you ever like fantasy cast it in your head?
No, I've never thought about it because I really don't like remakes, to be completely honest with you. Because, my thing is, if you tell a story, let the people have their story. So no, I really haven't thought about, like who I would cast in it or anything like that. I do have a baseball series called Heavy Hitters that my agent is a former Red Sox catcher.
Oh wow.
Jason
Varitek?
I can't remember his last name. Jay Hernandez.
I'm a
Yeah.
Yankees fan, so I try to not keep any Red Sox information in my brain. But
so I have a baseball series written. Anything that has to do with baseball, I love. Any sports movies, I love. Joey really wants to do a hockey movie. There are like 3 new hockey movies coming out this year. My son has an idea for a hockey movie, but I couldn't even like tell you off the top of my head who I would want to cast, in those roles. Cause it's like, I mean, A League of Their Own is a fantastic movie.
Oh, it is.
With a stellar cast.
Yeah.
So like, how would you remake it? And I know they did the Netflix series, right?
Yeah, I don't think it went over well.
No, it didn't. It didn't. I didn't watch it. So, and that's like another thing. If you're gonna remake a movie that's really, really good, you better knock it out of the freaking park or
Oh
your
yeah.
career's just gonna go. So I kind of, that's why I won't do a sequel. And that's why I won't do spin-offs anymore. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's a really good movie.
I think
That's,
I want to remake Once Bitten so bad is because I love it so much from growing up that I there's a part of me that wishes I could have been a part of it initially, and that would be the only chance I would get until someone invents a time machine. So
you know what? Thinking about it, um, you might like doing a really obscure movie
mm-hmm.
might be worth a remake. Like there's a movie, have you ever heard of the movie Oleana?
I don't think I have.
Maybe
Okay.
I
So
feel like it's
Oleana is a script written by David Mamet.
okay.
It's a stage play written by David Mamet, and it was pushed to it was made into a film starring William H. Macy as John. You have John, you have Carol. It's such a good script, and it was just like, it was really relevant like when the whole Me Too movement was coming out and was like kind of blown out of proportion. Sorry ladies, but there was just a part where it was like everybody was Me Too this, Me Too that, and Oleana is about this woman, a college student, who goes to her professor because she's very upset and is crying, whatever, and it's she got a C, and she's like throwing a fit. So he shuts the door and hugs her. And then she goes to her group and they say that she raped him, or that he
Oh
raped her.
wow.
Yeah. And then he has to, it's like guilty until proven innocent. And he loses his tenure and he loses his wife and he loses everything. And then finally, there's this moment where he reacts in a villainous manner, is all I'll say, and you find yourself cheering for him, and then you're like, holy crap, you should watch it. It's like, it's a
Yeah,
really good,
I mean David Mamet's really he's a legend. You really can't miss with any of his stuff.
yeah. And William H. Macy, I mean, he's
Great in
incredible.
Boogie Nights.
It's in your top
Oh, he
three.
was so good. He's good in everything. What was I keep trying to think of this because this is the third time this week I thought about it. What was the one where it was him and Ben Stiller, and they played like the superheroes that had
Oh,
like
Mystery Men.
Mystery Men? That
Yes.
might be a fun
My
remake
wife
too.
loves that movie.
That's a great movie.
So do we have any Oscar predictions for tonight?
I think Bradley Cooper is going to take it for Maestro.
Maestro?
I really do. And I think Oppenheimer is gonna take it for Best Picture. Let me see, Best Actress. Um, I would love to see Annette Bening get it because she's been in the industry for so long, but I don't think she will. And I don't think that Sandra Hüller is going to get it either, although there's been so much buzz, but there's also been so much negative press about her, about how she doesn't deserve it and she doesn't deserve to be there. And I feel very bad for her, but um, I'm thinking, I'm thinking maybe Emma Stone might.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Paul Giamatti, Emma Stone, Oppenheimer for the best picture, and Nolan finally for director. That's my
And
call.
I, well, I mean, Nolan, that's kind of a no-brainer. I would love, wait, let me see who's nominated. Sorry. Um, it's, I'm just so tired of it being such a male dominated field
Okay.
with,
Yeah.
for director,
Oh, it
Justine
is.
Trent, right? For Anatomy, Triet, sorry, was, she's nominated for Anatomy of a Fall. All these people from Barbie were nominated. Barbie was a great movie. I mean, that
Yeah.
monologue that America Ferrara gave, was she
Oh,
nominated?
amazing.
God,
She's nominated. Yes.
yeah, I
America's
hope
Fall.
she gets it. She's not, but that monologue she gave was so friggin' good. I
It
was
was
like,
it was spot on. It really was spot on.
and like can we talk about the best original song category,
I think we
please?
have a
And I
couple
know this
minutes
is
for
like,
it.
so I know it's so strange, right? So here's my issue with this category. It's the Oscars are so friggin' political. Back in 2016 for the 2017 uh Oscars, my film What Happened Last Night had the most number of songs on the short list for Best Original Song.
Really?
We had 5, and there was a Variety article that came out, and they're like, micro budget film out of nowhere, what happened last night? And one of our songs was so good. It was the closing credit song. It was just as by Latchkey. Spencer Jordan wrote it. It was a great song, but it came out the same year as La La Land. And La La Land had 2 songs, you know, they only had 3 songs on the short list, 2 of which got nominated. My film had 5. So looking at, like, I'm Just Ken should not have won the Golden Globe.
No,
It shouldn't
that's
have.
a popularity contest win.
It is.
Because it's Ryan Gosling singing.
Did you see
he's not
his
a singer.
face?
Yeah, you can tell he's like, what the hell is going on here?
What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish and Phineas was so much better.
Oh,
And
incredible song.
So I can't believe that I'm Just Ken is freaking nominated for an Oscar.
And he's performing it tonight, so I can only imagine what Ryan Gosling's reaction is going to be to doing that.
And for Greta not to be nominated for an Oscar, like.
Well, we were talking about this before. It almost makes that entire monologue true. Like they, you know what I mean? Not only is it true in real life, but the Oscars literally like proved it. You know? It's I just hate that everything's a biopic. The only thing that you can win an Oscar for is playing a real person, and hardly ever are fictional characters rewarded as being played by, you know, somebody. But Candy, it was an absolute pleasure.
It was wonderful talking to you guys.
I hope we can do this again sometime. You hop on anytime you want. You have our email. Just let us know. Also, Serena is a wonderful person to talk to.
Oh, Serena's great. She's the best.
So good. That is.
I call her my wifey because she just like takes
she seems so great. And I appreciate her always doing very timely responses to my probably annoying emails. So.
Yeah, she owns a Storytown Publicity. She's wonderful.
She's fantastic. Maybe she'll take me and Dan on as clients, and we'll finally be somebody, Dan.
But it was really great talking to you guys. I'll watch the Oscars with you. We have a party tonight for the Peekaboo cast. We're going to be streaming it down at the Lake Placid Brewery. So
also, I can't wait to watch that. It really sounds like it's going to be pretty badass.
Thank you. So when we disconnect, I want to tell you guys give you a little piece of information, but I don't want to say it on your.
All right.
Alrighty.
All right.
See you later.
Bye, guys.
Dude.
Yeah, man. Candy is she was really cool, and she's very accomplished, like you said. Like she is definitely better than both of us, I'd say.
Yeah, no, she you know, definitely an inspiring story overall. Like she went through she went through a lot of things that, like, she went pretty deep on the interview, and I thought it was really cool that she was down to open up in the way she did. And really tell us a lot of not only her story, but like what kind of led into her story, how she's developed as a person because of the things that have happened. But she's a very determined woman. Really cool to have her on. You know, really good to see that empowerment. You know, she spoke about female directors. I think there is a place for them, obviously. Like, you know, as the film industry continues to evolve, I think we're going to start seeing more of that. Because I think, you know, she had a really good point when she was like, you know, we've talked about Grammys before and artists pulling their stuff, and we've talked about like the Oscars and like how it's become a popularity contest. Like you said it really well. But, you know, I think that eventually it's going to start moving away from that because they're going to have no choice but to move away from that. We're going to start seeing new talent really pop out.
I mean, I just wish that like society would just be like, a good story is a good story, a good performance is a good performance. I mean, who the person is, male, female, transgender, gay, straight, whatever, like it none of that stuff matters. The work is what matters. It's an award based on merit. It's not, you know, the straight white man's award or the gay black man's award or whatever. It's just based on the work. And it's a shame that, you know, things don't get done, you know, the way they should because of someone's gender or sexuality or whatever the case is. And it's just weird. It's just weird that we live in that kind of society. And I also think that she opened up to us because we're just really good fucking interviewers, dude.
I think so.
I mean, let's give ourselves some credit there.
Right, round of applause.
Good
but
press to go around.
I think one of the coolest things though, and it's funny because I'm gonna quote Die Hard with the Vengeance right now, and I think
Do
it's
it.
very applicable to our time and age and everything, is that you can just be an asshole. And if you follow that same thought track, you don't have to be a specific type of asshole, like a woman asshole or man asshole, like whatever color, gender, whatever. You could just be an asshole. And by contrast to your point, you can just be a good person. You could be
Yeah,
talented. I don't know why we have to add these like asterisks to like this type of person is a good person.
right.
I think
Yeah.
that if we actually removed the inclusiveness and just went a little more general on things, I think we'd just be better overall, because I can hate you, I can love you. You being who you are has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, the only time those like adjectives matter is when you're like the driver at an airport and you need to know if you're picking up a Chinese man or an Indian woman. Like other
Because
than that,
sometimes
it's just
those
a
names
man,
can be a
it's
little
just a
complicated.
woman, it's just a person.
Yeah.
Like you're not picking out a stranger in the crowd. You need some description. We're just
I'm
all
not gonna
people.
lie, I've seen some like Sri Lankan names that are 45 letters long, and I couldn't tell
Yeah,
you because they have a rule where, fun fact, it's like your name and your father's name mixed together. It's wild how they've thought of this. I wouldn't have more than 3 friends because I'd never remember who they were.
my
But
name would be Matt.
exactly. But
But
no,
yo,
definitely cool.
watching the Oscars tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely I might pop some highlights. There's some good stuff. I'm not gonna lie, as much as I love the Oscars, I'm a huge food person, obviously. Like the first version of our podcast had food, and TOC is on tonight, and I'm watching Guy Fieri and Mike Voltaggio get busy tonight.
Is that a bigger contest than the upcoming Jake Paul and Mike Tyson?
I don't know. I think Guy Fieri would argue TOC is the hardest competition on television.
It's pretty tough,
He's
dude. But
really
I
good
mean,
at, he's really good at marketing. But
few
no, Jake
seconds.
Paul's gonna
Jake
get
Paul versus Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's 57. Jake Paul ain't never fought nobody. It's like it reminds me of Rocky 4 when the announcer's like, Creed's over the hill and the Russian ain't never fought nobody. It's literally the same thing. And with every fiber of my being, I hope Tyson just hits him once in the chin and drops him like a fucking bad habit. But it's gonna be on Netflix in July, so we can talk about it more next podcast if you want. But I just thought we'd mention it because it's so fucking ridiculous that we live in a time when someone's willingly getting into the ring with Mike Tyson. So
I mean, you assume he's 57, he is over the hill, but you never count out a boxer.
no, especially one that's just that bit off someone's
That's
fucking ear, dude.
Tyson.
Tyson
Yeah.
beast.
But
All right, brother. I'll see you next week.
hold on, I think I figured out an outro that I want to steal, borrow, and use. But until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Hi, brother.
Later.